Dummy Swish Pod, the boys are back.
Yes,
How are you,
sir.
Chris?
Yes, sir. Kodas, I'm hurt. I'm hurt, man. Yeah. How you doing, bro?
We must be gracious in victory, and we must
Yeah.
also, I think we must also be gracious in defeat. I'll wear this for the next 5 minutes, just as a tribute to our visitors of this incoming series. But
Yeah.
I'm not that disappointed. But I guess we'll dig a bit deeper into it. It was
Mhm.
just bragging rights. There was no cup on the line. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll dig a bit deeper. The Dan Carters of podcasting here to give you our flagrant rugby takes and just dig
Mhm.
a bit deeper than what you might see on TV. You can catch us here. You can catch us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. I think let's begin with news of the day. You
Yeah.
know, what's done is done. So now we must look forward to Portugal and let's break down this team that they've announced today.
Mm.
And from the beginning, number one, Jan Hendrik Vessels. There's no way he should be there. There's no way. I know it's Portugal, but
Yeah.
there's no way he should be there. Wait, before we actually, how do you feel about the side as a whole before we go number for number?
Yeah. Look as a whole, it's mixed bag, mixed feelings. I'm happy for some guys that getting their debuts, the stacked back line.
Yeah,
But yeah, it would have been nice to see different names,
yeah.
on this team sheet. But again, it's all gonna be what happens on Saturday. But we also let's go into it, quarters, because
Yeah, okay. Let's
you
go into it.
know,
So it's Vessels there. There's no way he should be here. He's the third choice loose head at the Bulls. He's the third
yeah,
choice hooker at the Bulls, but he's playing hooker
mm,
now. For me, even I watched him against the Griffins solely for the purpose of hating on him. There was nothing special there. I'm sorry.
yeah,
There's nothing. He
no,
played so badly in the Currie Cup before that he had to change position.
mm,
So I don't know. I don't feel like he should be there, but people will say it's Portugal. It is what it is.
yeah. But then if it's Portugal, then let's give the guys that are more deserving. Let's do away with this Moraticism. That's because I think it's part of that selection. Is that guys
Yeah.
that have been earmarked from based on history, previous what they've done at junior levels.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're looking at Vessels, he hasn't necessarily caught the eye like that, to warrant a walk on,
Yeah.
that's an interesting selection. I'll concede that, totally unexpected, but okay, okay,
So we move on. Robbie's finally gets a go. I wouldn't.
finally, I'm happy with that.
His form. I'm not. I've got no problem with it. I think his form was better in previous years. He has
Mm,
been knocking on that door. It's just, I think, injury, coming back from injury is just, he stalled a bit coming back, but no problem with that. Toy,
yeah,
on the other hand, his form is incredible in the Premiership, but we don't see it, so it's not spoken about as much. Then the
yeah,
Muraticism, uh, our captain. And you know what? I know there's legacy with this
yeah,
selection. There's
mm,
um there's things behind it. And I won't rain too much on his moment.
yeah,
I won't say too much, but at the end of the day, there's no agenda. It's just we want to when you're on that team sheet, it comes down to, are you doing enough to be there? I'm not saying you're
yeah,
doing nothing, but are you doing enough to be there? Are you doing enough
mm,
to be the Springbok captain? Are you doing
mm,
enough to be selected? And unfortunately, with when it comes to him and Vessels in their respective positions, I don't really think they are.
yeah,
I will
it's
say, in
difficult.
terms of captain, I've saw some people saying should be captain. I've never been big on being captain, so it really doesn't mean too much to me. This
Yeah,
selection, I guess I'll just go with it for the sake of going with it. But I brought up the Moerat system, and you can see what happened 2 weeks later. So
Yeah,
I'm not making these things up.
yeah, yeah. No, you're not. You're not. And I mean, look, I saw I saw a tweet, and it's exactly what I was thinking. Is it's a bit didn't even want to come off. That second blood bin. I don't know if I lip read correctly. It was like, what are you doing here?
You were saying, who
You
are you
know,
on for? Because you're not
yeah.
on for me.
Paraphrasing, but he didn't want to come off for
Yeah,
him, so it's an interesting selection, but again, it goes back to what we've been talking about the past few weeks, about it, to say, look, and what impact, when he comes on, what impact, does he make? Do you see a difference?
we would have
You
been
can
better
say,
off.
oh, okay,
Sorry to interrupt, but we would have been better off without a 6-2 because he barely featured in that second
yeah,
test. We could have had three backline players. Hindsight is
yeah,
2020. We
it's
can
true, yeah,
say, because otherwise we would have said, wow, we could have put Fassi on the bench if we knew we were going to lose our fullback. But
yeah.
unfortunately, that's not how it works. But you're talking about impact. He was barely used in the second game to the point where we
Mm.
could have even changed that bench.
Yeah, and I mean, even from the first game, there was minimal impact, you know. But I guess, look, in his defense, he doesn't pick himself, at the end of
Yeah.
the day. Perhaps there's something there that, look, at the end of the day, there will be things that the coaches see that we won't necessarily
It's
be
the
privy to.
Morata. That's what they're seeing. That's what they're seeing. I will say in the first match, he was involved in holding up the ball for the one try. He was involved in getting the scrum over. But guys, the Morata is winning here. But
Yeah.
it's his moment. It's his
It
moment.
is,
So
and look, big ups to him.
yeah,
They've earmarked him. Like and you can only hope that from here with this
yeah,
responsibility, and that he can show more. That's all we can hope for is to see more and better
yeah,
from him. Not dogging him or anything like that, but it's just it's what we demand as Bok fans. Is to whoever dons that jersey needs to be
yeah.
elite. At that level where that, okay, not in any given day, even if it's just off color, he's still giving you something. But yeah, we'll see. We shall see this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully he does well. Moving on, RG, he got some game time this week with injuries. Then Pepsi, happy about
I'm
that. I know
happy.
you're happy about that.
Yeah. No, Shenga the boss is back in he's in there, finally. And I think it's overdue in terms of
Yeah.
this so far this season. I think it would have been nice to see him a bit earlier. Maybe a point of difference, but we'll see on the weekends. But I'm super happy for him, and I'll say this: I see a future Bok captain in him more than because he's also captain at junior level. You understand what I'm saying? So let me also give him that neuroticism as well.
These guys, they were all high school captains. That's why that thing, it doesn't impress me. They were all captains. But I mean, like Pepsi did say today, there's many leaders within the group. So I
yeah,
think he's trying to take on that responsibility as well in
as well.
trying. I mean, he's not going to be one now, but if he does grow into this role and does become a mainstay within the squad, that's sort of something for him.
Yeah,
BJ Dixon, I've got no problem with it. There's
yeah,
people that
no problem.
will argue for Eric Lowe, but for me, it's his versatility to play in the locking and as well in
Yeah,
flank. So I think that's the thing that's going to get him over the line versus
yeah,
Lowe. You've got Ruiz there. People have been calling for him. People haven't been too happy about Kwacha, but we'll address that. You've got Reynak,
yeah,
who we'll see. I'm sure he'll also put out a good performance. He tends to do so against the tier 2/tier 3. Then you got Lobok finally back.
yeah.
Mapimpi, Esterhazen, Arensa,
Mm,
the Church of Fasi. This weekend there'll be a service. Hugo Fenta on the bench. Hunu, Nyakane,
mm,
Ruan Fenter gets involved, which as a Lion supporter, I'm
I know
happy.
you're happy about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
And
that's
look, I can see. Look. Honestly, he's been good for the Lions. And
yeah,
his physicality, his carries. Yeah, I think it's good on him, and big ups
yeah,
to him as well. I'm keen to see how he goes. Yes, it's
yeah. Nail,
Portugal,
you
but
hit
just
it
how he
there,
slots
nail on the
into
head,
the
physicality.
mm, how he slots in terms of the system and just within the team. Be interesting to see, because I think this is almost like a trial to see who else is making the rugby championship squad as well.
Yeah.
In that sense. So good on him.
Then you've got Ulrich Lowe. Bull
The
supporters will be
sheriff.
happy. Yeah, you got Fair Flight there. You got
Mm,
Sasha, who it looks like he's
prodigal
covering 10
son.
there. We'll get to it, but I'm not as big on his performance as maybe some other people were over the weekend. And then we've got Kieran Horn, who I think
Yeah,
Horn
happy
is
for him.
there. I think he's there because Edwell pulled up in the Currie Cup this weekend
Yeah,
and got injured. So I'm sure Edwell would have featured instead of him. It was sort of reported over the weekend that he was going to be left out, but because of that injury, I think
yeah,
he's been included. Moody is injured, Marks is injured, the Universal Soldier is injured, and Peter Steph is injured. So those are things sort of around the
yeah.
team.
Yeah, but overall, I think, look, outside of those concerns of, the Moraticisms and things like that, overall, look, backline for me stacked.
Yeah,
Even the loose forward trio, I think
yeah,
this for I get the sense this is the most balanced, that we can put out when you take away Sia, Peter Steph, you take away those 6 and 7, the regulars, and you put Pepsi and Ben Jason Dixon in there.
yeah,
I think there's better balance. Even with Russ there at eighth man, I think I really want to see how this loose trio goes,
yeah,
and yeah, even the guys coming off the bench. So I think big score, big score coming up, and they got to, they got to, make us forget a little bit about the past weekend, the implosion of the past weekend. So yeah, but it's an exciting team, definitely. And it's just all about Saturday and see if
yeah.
they can put it together. That's going to be the real test.
My
But it's
thing,
Portugal.
yeah, it's Portugal at the end of the day. My thing is, I'll just be keen to see how, for instance, Ruiz does in that
Mm,
role that Kwaka we've seen in the last two games. Will he be able to
mm-hmm,
fulfill that role? They said Kwaka's the fastest guy. He's sort of in the middle there, attending to all the rucks. Will Ruiz be able to do the same thing? Does he have the same
mm-hmm.
kind of work rate? Because he carries in a different way. He makes meters in a different way. He does it. He's
Yeah,
completely different player. But
different.
how will he adjust to that role? The same thing for is
Yeah,
completely different to Jesse Creel. Now, what are we going to see from him in this new template that
yeah.
we've seen over the past two games?
Mm, mm, mm. And
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 besides,
and, and, and
yep,
sorry, and also Limbok. I think
yep,
I think he should definitely have a chip on his shoulder. Wanting to get to just set some record straight. Just a reminder.
yeah,
As much as it's Portugal, it's still a test match. So yeah, man, this is with the promise of some tries. This is
yeah.
what I'm looking forward to with this team.
My last thing on that is if Vessels can be there, Nohamba should be there because that's that's
Yeah.
that's my guy. That's if Vessels
Yeah.
there, Masuku must also be there. If Vessels
Yeah.
is there, Nohamba must be there. But
Yeah.
that's the last thing I'll say on that. Yeah, I think let's look back at the box performance just overall
Oh,
before we sort of get into moments. I think in
yeah.
terms of the game holistically, there was a regression in the playing style, the game plan. I don't think we got as much go forward. We were mid physically. And then the
Mm,
problem is when you're mid physically, what do you do from there?
yeah.
And I think we ran
We,
out of ideas in terms of Faf and Pollard, especially.
yeah. Look, we got the Springboks got Springbok this weekend. That's the reality. They're the ones that got fucked up physically, you know. That's the truth. You know,
Yeah,
they're the ones. I mean, when last did you see so many, especially the big time box, it's a bit blood bin mustard. Okay, mustard is
yeah,
always bleeding, but you know, but but like that, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like that. Honestly, when I saw that blood bin, especially to when it's a bit was when it was flowing from him, it just I just had that feeling that no man, no, these guys they really they on and they're sticking them,
yeah,
um and you quite rightly pointed out, once you meet or once you get the taste of your own medicine, what's your backup? What's your get out of jail card? How do you change things? And it seemed like we were clueless in terms of how to do that. It
yeah.
got a bit better second half in terms of yes, getting penalties, but execution, again, conversion rate is a problem,
Still no
you know.
tries. That's the thing.
Still,
Still
and
no tries.
yeah,
And it's something that Ox said at the end when he's like, we should have been having a go. Instead, we were kicking the ball away. And I
yeah,
think it's basically a function of Willie LaRue going off so early in that
yeah.
the attack wasn't as fluid and Sasha
Mm,
coming in. Pollard had a bad game. Faf had a
yeah.
bad game. Big areas of concern is our 22 conversion rate when we're getting into the 22.
Mm,
We're not getting points or we're not doing anything. You saw Faf kick the ball away. Pollard on the
mm.
border of the 22 kicked the ball away. The Maul failed twice.
Did not function.
Uh, to add to that, in terms of other things, we missed I think 3 lineouts. Mbonambi,
Mm,
I think the first few went well. Then from there it fell apart. We
yeah.
got caught out on goal line drops
Again.
numerous amount, like again. And it's not just the try that they scored; they got penalties from it as well. So it's
Yeah.
clearly Pollard's kicking. He was 100% in terms of this. Also goes back to stats. He was 100% in terms of kicking from for poles, but his kicking in game was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
It didn't seem like there was purpose behind it, and yeah, he got 100% kicking a goal, because that's what he's supposed to do, so he fixed the one aspect, and the other aspect was lacking. I saw some other comments to people talking about, yeah, but it's not so much about the goal kicking factor, it's also the being the general and whatnot. There was no general on the weekend. There
yeah,
was nobody that was saying that, okay, listen, stuff this, this is how we need to go about this thing, on the field lifetime, to say, okay, this is what we're changing, let's change the lives that we let's change something. And it wasn't there, both 9 and 10 were poor. Yeah,
yeah,
that's the reality of it, and I think it's difficult to see how, and it's difficult to see how that 9 and 10 combination outside of a tournament, like a World Cup,
yeah,
where yes, they've been proven. What else? What else is there on offer? Because when Grant Williams came on at night,
yeah.
significant differences, able to vary the play, to and that's effectively, I think that's what helped us get back into it and get.
Exactly. Grant Williams kicked better. He wasn't as wasteful. And
Mm,
just in general, the intent that he had, especially on second watch, when I watched the game again, I was like,
mm,
the performance between the two, and like you said, he was one of the guys that brought us back into the game.
yeah.
On second watch, you can see how terrible it was when Faf was playing compared to when he was playing.
Mm, mm.
And
It was
then
just,
here,
yeah.
here, I'm gonna be slightly controversial, and I'm gonna trade very lightly with what I say
Let's be
because
controversial.
everybody loves Sasha.
Yeah,
There's it seems like he's above criticism, but for me, I felt like he had a mixed bag in terms of performance.
he
He
did.
sparked the attack twice there. He
Second half.
yeah, it the first half when he came on, he was shaky in terms of
He
contesting
was flustered.
the high ball. He
He
did
was
look,
flustered.
yeah, and then after that second half, he settled. He had those two good attacks. But then after
Mm,
those attacks, he's getting the ball and then he's kicking it away.
Yeah.
There's times where we had counterattacks and he's kicking the ball away. Even that other one where he did that rolling kick into the 22, it was on for the
Mm.
pass and goal. It's like Ox said, we are kicking, and he was sitting next to him when he said it. He's like, we're kicking
Yeah.
the ball away when we should be having a go.
Mm.
So I know
Mm.
you can't say anything about Sasha. He's the guy. But for me, I felt
We
like
will say it.
his performance for me, it wasn't what the general public was saying. You see those two good runs, and yes, and then I'm not even getting to the fact that he ran the ball out there on
Mm.
um the final possession for
Yeah.
Ireland to get it. So there's
Yeah.
many things in his performance which we need to work on. And the thing is, it's fine now because it's just incoming series, whatever. But if this was something like at a World Cup, people would have been really looking at those mistakes. It's easy to
Yeah.
talk about Van Staden losing possession, but then
Mm.
what happened after that? You could have let that
Yeah.
ball go in.
Mm.
So we must be honest. We must be
We have
honest.
to.
I'm not. It was his day to learn. It
Yeah.
was his day to learn. And number one, he was there because he can cover 10, 12, 15. I think he's a 12 and a 15.
Mm.
Lebok comes in, you have to move everyone down a position. They didn't want that kind of disruption, but maybe that
Yeah.
would have been better. His experience would have been better. To also be
It would
thrown
have.
in, this is not Portugal, this is Ireland, to be thrown in at the
Mm.
deep end in this way.
Mm.
But, he showed that he has got things where it can benefit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But ultimately, I think he was part of that regression in terms of kicking the ball away when maybe we should have been having a go.
We should have been having a go, looking at taking more attacking options, as opposed to just handing Ireland possession back. Considering how the first half went, I think you would have expected the Springboks to try and hold on to possession a bit more,
Yeah.
to apply pressure with ball in hand, but it didn't happen. But look, at the end of the day, here's another thing that you know, an experienced Springbok team like that struggling to score a try. Okay,
Mm.
start there. Not solving the problems on the field. There's match XP on there. There's caps. You
Yeah.
understand? They back-to-back world champions. So and that's why I say I'm hurt because they it just seemed like they were Ireland, what Ireland were in Pretoria. You know,
Yeah.
that's just it didn't look like they had a plan. Didn't look like they could get anything going. And what's worse, that at least Ireland and Pretoria, they got some tries. Our attack was just blunt. And it's a problem now because with Willie Leroux, look, he's getting to that age. Eventually, he's gonna have to retire. Without
Yeah.
him, what does the shape look like? What does the setup look like? And again, it goes back to that. There's no problem solving on the field. The generals
Yeah.
are not generaling. So for me, honestly, this was a chance to kick off, to continue the dynasty. Okay, the opportunity is still there because it's rugby championship, you know what I mean? But,
Yeah.
you know, once and for all, you could have closed the debate with Ireland, and shut them up, sent them home packing. But now, still, yes, there wasn't a trophy on the line. Yes, we still double champions.
But there
Yes,
was
yes,
pride
yes.
on the line.
You understand? Where's the pride, for that? Because for me, that hurt, man. That hurt. I'm sorry. Yes, great series, great game by Ireland. Ireland, better team, but it hurt still because this is supposed to be an experienced Springbok team, you know, and they got handled.
Yeah, let's just look at some moments during the game. Some things sprinkled throughout. Personally, we mentioned the lineouts, we mentioned them physically getting met.
Mm,
I think we need to learn in terms of our kicking game, because first half we didn't have territory. We just didn't
yeah.
we I feel like our defense was good enough but the problem was that we were playing in our own half, and eventually you're just going to give
Mm,
away penalties in
it's gonna
some
happen.
way, shape, or form. Got
Mm,
caught out with that clever running lines again from a goal line drop. Positive. was Ox. He was man of the match. I feel sorry for him because he had such a
Yeah,
performance, but I felt like maybe some of the other guys let him down a bit. You could even see him,
yeah,
he wasn't happy. But I mean,
yeah.
scrums at the end of the day, it's something for us where in the first half where we were under pressure and the game was maybe getting away from us, it was 10-0 to Ireland. We could fall
Mm,
back on that scrum to settle and bring us back into the game. So that,
mm,
as much as we must look at the negatives, we also look at the positives and say scrum definitely big positive within the series, and
yeah,
it settles us and brings us back into the game.
yeah, yeah. But then also lineouts as well. And another thing, it's just we, the lack of pressure for me, especially like at lineout time on Islands ball. It's almost like
Mm.
there wasn't enough pressure. It's gone are the days where we had, we know that, okay, two ball, look, it's risky if you throw two ball to a
Guys
Springbok
don't
lineout, because they'll
contest
take
these
it, or four ball.
days. Guys, they don't contest these. It's all analytics and watching film tape and saying okay. Because I mean, even
Mm,
for the Springboks in the second half, Marks did better in terms of the
yeah,
lineouts, but some of them were uncontested, where they're
yeah.
like, we'll just leave these guys and we'll contest them all. Or so
Mm,
it's down to game planning. They're not going to contest every single ball. But I mean,
true.
things could have been different. I do like the pressure in terms of defense. You saw that Paka charge down where we almost got a try.
Yeah.
Things could have been so different when you look at moments like that in the game.
Mm.
But
Look, there were positives, yes, and there were moments. But again, I'll go back to the failure to capitalize on those moments.
yeah,
You see, that's that for me, that's isn't it? We always say a championship team is a team, even when they're not playing well, they can still get the win and all of that. Where was it? That's my question. Where was it? Where was that desperation, to say,
yeah,
look, yeah, it's a two-match series, yes, look, especially they clawed their way back into that game, in the 77th minute, you're leading 24-22, if I'm not mistaken,
yeah.
so,
Yeah,
there's
we
the
couldn't
killer instinct.
undo what was done in the first half. We couldn't, and
Mm,
it's annoying even talking about it because you're going over the same talking points. Pollard from a restart kicks the ball into the in goal, then it's a scrum in the middle.
yeah,
Then I think it's Sasha has a bad kick. Then we brought to a scrum on our 5 meter line.
yeah,
So it's we're repeating the same things over and over again when in terms of bad kicking, things like
mm.
that. And it's but I guess we'll learn from these things.
But how much learning must now happen with the experienced Springbok team, isn't it? We were talking about it. No, this is an
The most
experienced team,
experienced team.
You understand? So we're still learning. No, for me, it's unacceptable, because
Yeah,
number one, I want that dynasty. You understand? I want that dynasty, once and for all, where outright, Springbok teams are just dominating. But it's silly things, things that can be fixed. And also, I think it
yeah,
also goes down to selection, finding the balance. Yeah, I think,
yeah,
over time they're going to have to move away from, the yeah, we know this guy, we know what he does, and sometimes, look in a different direction, and in hindsight, again, 2020, perhaps a different sort of mix in the team for the second test.
yeah,
It's things like that, but ultimately, it's still irritating, like you say. It's annoying, and it hurts because of the potential that's there, but it's just unrealized, and yes, Ireland were good, but for as good as they were also not necessarily brilliant, where
yeah,
you can outright say that, nah, look, yes, these guys, they played us off the park. The key thing was that they met the Springboks physicality, and the Springboks had no answer at the end of the day.
yeah,
They had no answer.
yeah, yeah. I think we just couldn't pull away in the end, and we couldn't undo that first half. I will say though, I think that's a good point in terms of moving on from guys. I won't lie. I am again, hindsight's 2020. You look at the
Yeah.
second team, you're like unchanged team. It's okay. It's good.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna sit here as a FAF apologist and I'm gonna say no, he still got something in him. We can still use this man. There's still some utility there. We can look at Pollard, and even I'm not the biggest Pollard guy, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna say no, there's still something there. There's still something there. But maybe we're just gonna have to face the reality that some of these guys, they it's run its course for some of them, and we're
Yeah.
starting to see the last few caps because Williams, the just what he and I also want to say that that's another point in this game with the bench was integrated a lot better than the first game, where the
Mm.
bomb squad
Mm.
came on and we didn't get that momentum shift that we wanted in the first game. In the second game,
Mm.
although these substitutions were made forced due to injury and what have you, the guys that came on did better. I think
Yeah.
Marks had a big impact coming on there. It's just a
He
shame
did.
that he gets injured now. You see, Williams had a good impact. You see, all these guys. I think that's one of the positives we can take away is the integration of the bench in this game. But
Yeah.
again, it couldn't get us over the line.
At home, in your own house, it's your house. That's the thing that's still that's it's just yes, Ireland are good and whatnot, but no, man. You know, they also had guys missing. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They also had guys missing. So
But even those guys missing, I think they just found the right balance. I think that team was just
that's the key thing.
yeah, sometimes they just found the right balance in that. So even when Omani came on at the end, I mean the captain coming on at the end, he provided impact there. So that's a
Yeah,
big call to bench him, but the impact that he provided and the balance that they
yeah.
found with him on the bench.
Yeah,
But
but look, alas, it's gone now. It's done and dusted. You can't cry with spilled milk. But yeah, no man, you know,
any
no
closing
man.
remarks from
Now
you?
for me, no. After this Portugal game, they have to win the rugby championship. This is the only way that they can heal this wound.
Do you think they
They
will?
can.
Do you think they will?
I think there's a good chance. Look. There's always a good chance, right? But if they don't do it, then for me, it's big question marks. Yeah, you
Yeah.
understand. There's big question marks because I'd say NZ are there for the taking. Definitely, maybe Australia will still be a bit tricky for us, but this is if there's ever a chance, a time to win the rugby championship outside of the World Cup, it's now.
Yeah.
It's now, and that's the only way for me that this season or this year can be successful is with a rugby championship trophy. Other than that, then we're just a World Cup team. Yeah, then we're just a World Cup team. Then we must just wait for every 4 years, then we can be happy. But no, man.
Any closing
I
remarks
didn't
from you,
like
Chris?
it. No, let the chefs cook this weekend. No, I think we're gonna feast. So it'll go a long way to healing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, no, definitely. We're gonna the win is guaranteed already. The win is guaranteed, but hopefully we see something, to get excited about the new players, the new caps,
yeah,
and watch some Currie Cup also. I've been enjoying the Currie Cup. The Greek was
yeah. I know.
nice win over the Sharks there. Lions,
Yeah,
they've announced
yeah.
themselves also got some momentum there. So enjoy that as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening.
We